Hello, Tube. Hello, my YouTube family, people of the Tube. I just did a short, and on my shorts, I just read this book. It's Daily Reflections, and I use it a lot for topics on this channel, and I use it a lot for thinking about my own life and trying to keep it on track, right? And it always gives me little thoughts, right? And today's is no exception. June 1st, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change, right? And that's one of the promises of AA or NA is that by working the steps and getting our life fixed up and healed, keeping the booze and the drugs away, and really engaging life and fixing the things we need to fix, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change, right? And so, again, when I was an addict, alcohol and drugs, all I cared about was the alcohol and drugs. When I would get my next beer, basically my next hoot, and then on the weekends when I was partying hard, when I'd get my next line of cocaine, right? So that was all I cared about, really. Anything else was just secondary. If I said I cared, it was cared enough because you were going to help me get one of those three things, right? So it was very selfish. I was extremely selfish. I think all addicts are extremely selfish because you have to be selfish to be an addict, right? You're constantly looking for that next fix, that next drink. And you'll walk over your own mother to get it. Like, it's just sad how it absolutely takes over everything in your life, right? And so you come to the meetings, you go to treatment, you go to a counselor, and you start, a lot of counselors do harm reduction at first. And if you can do that, that's cool. If you can reduce the amount you drink or use drugs to just weekends or the odd weekend or whatever, then that's awesome. Like, then you're truly not an addict as the big book of AA would tell you, or the big book of NA, or the big book of CA. They're all the same big book, just different wording, right? I have them all, and I've read them all, right? So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff, or the books, right? There's little variances, but nothing major, right? You can just buy or get the big book, AA big book and if you're any kind of addict, you can follow those steps, right? Those promises, all that stuff. It's all the same thing, just a little different wording. But so if you can reduce, then that's ideal for you, right? That's great, There is a part of me that wishes I could be a social drinker and just go to a party or whatever and have 2 or 3 drinks and hang out with the people and leave, right? But I know I can't, right? I know that like I've said in other videos before, I said that I still don't see a point to that. Even to this day, I still don't see a point in having 1 or 2 or 3 drinks, right? Either drink to get pissed drunk or don't bother, right? So that makes it where I could never do that. I could never be a social drinker, right? I just can't, right? And then the other problem with me is once I start drinking or smoking weed or doing cocaine, I don't want to stop. So that makes it where I can't be a harm reduction. Like, harm reduction doesn't work for me. And there's a lot of people like me that can't do that. They just can't. They've tried and it didn't work. So your attitude and outlook upon life has to change, right? You have to say, okay, I can't do any of that anymore. That's done. Right? So now what does my new life look like? Well, now what do I want to do with this life? How do I want to continue this life? Right? And in AA, what they say to you is, AA comes first, so you look after your sobriety first, and then you help others, right? And then your job and your family and your close friends, right? They're right there, right? And then, looking after your household chores and all that stuff and your housekeeping and all that is in there, right? And then your work is down, like it's just a job, right? So it's down a little lower. With me, my sobriety comes first, right? Helping others in AA. Then my gym time, right? Eating right, gym time, sleeping right, all that kind of stuff. So that's my first priority, is me. So I'm still selfish, right? I'm still pretty selfish, except for the fact that I work with other alcoholics and addicts, right? That's where I give time, right? I also donate time to other organizations, but that's my major donation of time, is to other alcoholics and addicts, right? And I do a lot of stuff for that. I run a meeting. I work as the district chairperson for our district, which is the area, I've explained it before, around where I live. I go to all kinds of assemblies and stuff for AA and NA. I run a group, or the general service representative for the NA group that I also run, right? So I run an AA group and I run an NA group. And in the next couple of years, I want those groups to run themselves. I do not want to have to be the only person that goes and opens the doors, and otherwise I'll just close it, right? Like if others can't step up, because that's part of their responsibility, right? Is to help run these things and help other alcoholics and addicts. It's helped me greatly by giving that time and working with those people. Whether they stay sober or not, that's not my cup of tea, right? I have two sponsees. One got killed by his drug dealer and the other one committed suicide, right? Those two, I've helped other people that stayed with it for a while and then they went back. Those two, I really wish I would have helped more, but there's nothing I can do, right? That's up to them. They chose, right? So we do what we can to help, right? That's part of our attitude change. The other attitude change is we make amends to people we've hurt whenever we can. So if it's going to hurt them or it's going to cause them problems, we don't do that. But if it isn't, and you see somebody uptown, or you have a family member maybe you stole some money from or something, you go and you tell them, hey, I'm very sorry, and you try to pay them back. What I've noticed when I went and did this with people is they don't want to be paid back. Most of them. I had one guy that was, well, you owe me $200. I want my $200, right? Fair enough. I stole the fucking money. Give him back his money. It took me a bit because I was broke as hell, but I did pay him back. The rest of the people said, no, you know what? You just keep doing what you're doing. And don't do it again, right? Don't do it again. So that's awesome, right? Most people are just happy that you're getting yourself in your life in order, your health and your life in order, right? That's what they're most happy about, especially friends and family. They can forgive you. And most people can forgive you. I mean, you're an idiot when you're an addict. Like, you're an idiot. And they know that. So don't panic about it, right? Like, when you go to do this, if you're doing these steps, don't panic about, oh, these people, I can't go tell them, and they're going to hate me, and they're not. Chances are they already know all the crap you pulled, and if they don't know everything, they know most of it. And the fact that you're owning up to it is huge, right? And that's part of the action of AA. It's a program of action, right? It's not Not just you, everybody sitting around in a circle, woe is me, oh, poor me, poor me. No, you do that a little bit. You know, you got to get that out. But the rest of it is action, is you got to get out there and do stuff to fix the situation, to help others, right? To repent and ask for forgiveness from others, right? Like, so that's the action part of it, right? Again, it's helped me out greatly. So whether like you're working with a counselor or whatever, just know that you got action to do. Know that you need to do these steps. These steps are they're tough at first because you have to be honest with yourself, right? You have to be honest about the crap you did, and and some of it is not all that good, right? I'm not going to go into details about all the stuff I did, but I didn't do a lot of really good things. Like I did a lot of really shitty things to people, and if you don't admit it, and part of your step 4 is to write it down on a piece of paper, and then you admit it to somebody, right? And then in step 8, you start making amends to people, right? So by writing it down on paper, again, like I've said many times, is you get it out of here, onto here. And then once it's onto there and you see it and you admit it and you say, that's me, and that's how I felt, and that's what it did to me, or that's how that person feels and that's what it did to them, or whatever, right? Because there's all kinds of different ways, resentments and hurts and all kinds of stuff that happen to us in our lives that we have to get down on paper. And then you admit it, you make your list of the people you're gonna go talk to and make amends with. And then you take that list and you burn it. And you get rid of that fucking thing. You get it out of your life. You get it away. You're gone. You're done. You're moving on, right? That clears the way for your future. And yes, you may think about it and it may come up, but you don't dwell on it and you don't keep beating yourself up over it. Right? It's in the past, it's gone, it's done. There's nothing you can change. You got to just move forward. And by moving forward, now you're doing things different. Right? You're no longer going to steal and cheat and do all the stuff that you did as an addict. Right? You're going to be honest, truthful in all your affairs. You're going to do everything you possibly can to be as honest and truthful as possible to everyone. Even if it hurts you, sometimes you just got to be that honest and truthful person. And by doing that, you don't start creating a bunch more resentments, right? You look at your life every day. At the end of the day, you say, hey, like this is bothering me or that's bothering me. Did I do something to hurt this person or that person? And then you move on, right? Like you and in a couple of years, you might do another step 4 and 5 just to get some more garbage out, right? Because stuff comes up. Stuff always comes up. God only gives us what we can handle. So after a while of healing, more stuff might come up. You might remember more stuff from your addiction 8 days that you want to get down on paper and you want to confess and get rid of, and then burn it and get rid of it and move on. And so it's super important, right? Like our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. And it's massive, that change, right? That you don't see it at first, the first year it's kind of iffy and you're sketchy, and the second year you start seeing it more and more. By year 5, your life is so much different than it was 5 years ago. Like it is so crazy different. That you don't believe it, right? I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that this was my new life, even though I had a lot of issues still, right? I had a lot of issues to still work through at year 5. If you were an addict for, like I was, for 20 years, it's probably going to take 20 years to heal the majority of that stuff, right? And I know that it's true. I thought it would be done a long time ago, but I'm not, right? I still have stuff in this guy that has to be healed. And I'm at year 17, right? June 27th. This month, 27th, will be 17 years for me without a drink. And it'd be about 15 years without drugs, without weed, right? I didn't do any cocaine or anything and drink. And then the weed was gone after that, right? It took me a bit to get off the weed too. I use it as a crutch, right? I'll be honest with you guys. I used it as a crutch. And it did help. I don't know if that's good to tell people, but it did help. Like, weed wasn't what was making me miss work, right? It wasn't what was making me steal from people and lie to people and cheat and say horrible things and do, weed didn't do that. The alcohol and cocaine did that, right? That's what made me a bad person. Now, the weed was an addiction. I couldn't go a day without it. So it was an addiction for sure, right? And same thing with the cigarettes. Addiction for sure. But it didn't change my life that much. It didn't wreck it. So it took me a little longer to get rid of it. I wanted to get the other two gone, right? I wanted the other two gone because I wanted my life to change. I was sick of living the way I was. And then after a while, the weed left, right? Like, it wasn't very... And honestly, the weed was not very hard to quit. The first week or so was tough, and then it was gone, man. And I do not like the smell of beer or alcohol now. I just don't. But I still like the smell of weed. I just do. I like the smell of cigarettes. Like, when somebody's smoking a good cigarettes, not some of this cheap crap that they buy. I still like the smell of it. I don't want to go back smoking, and I don't want to go back smoking weed. But I do like the smell of it, right? So just something, I don't know if it matters or not, but these are the things, right? I did have some cravings as I was quitting smoking weed. They weren't as intense as when I quit drinking. The cigarettes were the worst. The cigarettes were the hardest for me to quit. They were tough, man. That was a tough one. I had a hard time quitting smoking, right? And maybe I'll talk more about that in another video. It was a tough one. Like, it was tougher, I think, than alcohol and cocaine. I think the cigarettes were the worst. They were the hardest for me. I don't know what the hell they put in those things, man. But they were the hardest. Like, I grew tobacco. I grew John Player's tobacco. And I tried smoking it because I cured it, everything. Looked just like tobacco. Smoked it. Smelled like tobacco. But it still didn't take away that urge, right? I had to have a real cigarette. So that's the stuff they add, because that was real tobacco, right? I'm going to close this window so that's a little quieter. And we'll end this here right away because the train's going to go by. So, yeah, your attitude and outlook upon life will change. Always keep your sobriety at the top. That is the most important thing. Family and all that, they're important. Believe me, they are important. But if you don't stay clean and sober and working on that program, you're going to lose the family. So just remember that. And like, subscribe, comment. I love your comments. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.